Operation Ashen Skies, a Democracy Officer's Report by Commander Lucius Grant, Helldiver Corps. Log entry, Dawn, Malavalon Creek. In the name of managed democracy and by order of the Ministry of Defense, I hereby record the actions of my squad during Operation Ashen Skies. Some say Malavalon Creek is cursed ground. The jungle valleys remember every drop of Helldiver blood spilled among their smoking ruins. But Super Earth doesn't fear curses. We turn them into proving grounds. That morning, my light assault squad was chosen to deliver Super Earth's answer to the Jetpack Brigade. Automaton elites born of smoke, steel, and stolen gravity. 4 Helldivers to face an army. As always, I am Commander Lucius Grant, Field Leader and Officer of Democracy. My duty was to guide my team, secure Malavalon Creek's southern sector, and see the mission done, whatever the cost. The squad. With me stood 3 comrades, each a blade honed by endless war. Sergeant Erica Bolt Sorensen, demolition expert, breaker of machines, quick to curse and quicker to laugh. Carried the breaker incendiary for close quarters, the GL-21 grenade launcher for everything else. Fire and fury in human form. Specialist Jonas Sparks Cade, support gunner, technical savant, ran with the MG-43 machine gun and deployed a guard dog rover like it was a loyal pet. Eyes always scanning, fingers always restless. Trooper Felix Clutch Moretti, marksman calm as dawn, the team's quiet guardian, favored the railgun for armor penetration and kept an autocannon stratagem in reserve. Never missed twice, rarely missed once. I carried the AR-23P Liberator Penetrator. Faithful, precise, unyielding. On my back, the Shield Generator Pack, a lifeline when the sky itself turned hostile. Together, we would walk the heart of Malavalon Creek, where rivers of rust flowed through forgotten ruins, and the air itself stank of scorched oil and wet earth. Insertion. At 0540 local time, our hellpods tore the morning silence. The world blurred into a tunnel of heat and violence. Impact threw dust skyward in a pillar of liberation. When the pods opened, dawn had barely lifted the jungle's mist, and the ruinous bones of Malavalon Creek greeted us like an old enemy. The Jetpack Brigade had come ahead of us, leaving wreckage in their wake. Twisted iron towers, collapsed footbridges, automated sentries still sparking from last night's orbital strike. But the real threat was airborne. Scouts with jump packs, designed to strike from angles no soldier expects. Our orders were blunt. Establish forward foothold at Grid 7A. Disable 3 automaton uplink towers. Extract before dawn turned to ash. I signaled the squad. We move. Bolt, you're on point. Sparks, keep the rover scanning high arcs. Clutch, overwatch left ridge. Let's remind these machines whose planet this is. They answered without hesitation. By managed democracy, Bolt muttered, locking a magazine of incendiary rounds. And by superior firepower, Sparks added, patting the guard dog. Moving to high ground, Clutch whispered, already climbing the wreckage of a collapsed rail bridge. That was the only conversation we needed. First contact. 50 meters from the LZ, Sparks' rover barked, a mechanical growl that meant incoming. Twin automaton scouts dropped from tree-line shadows, jump jets hissing. They carried plasma carbines and the cruelty of precise algorithms. Bolt fired first. Her breaker incendiary spat flame and shot, turning jungle mist into a cloud of burning oil. One machine dropped mid-swoop, armor blistering. The second veered, but Clutch's railgun roared from above, a single heavy-charged shot that cracked the machine's chest plating and blew out its core. Smoke drifted over us, bitter with scorched circuitry. Silence returned. Jungle noises resumed, the distant clatter of collapsing metal, the hum of unseen drones. I could feel Malavalon Creek itself watching, the ruins old and wounded, but never empty. They're probing, Sparks said, checking the MG-43's belt. Won't stay light for long. Then we keep moving, I replied. Every second the uplinks stand, they call for more. We advanced. Uplink Alpha. The first tower rose above the canopy, draped in hanging vines that did nothing to hide the steel and hatred within. Automated sentries encircled its base, blinking eyes of red. I ordered the approach. Bolt, ready your launcher. Sparks, set the guard dog to suppression. Clutch, mark targets. Copy. 5 drones, 1 suppressor bot, Clutch reported. Bolt moved like a wraith among ruins, shouldering the GL-21. Sparks dropped to a knee, Rover unfolding beside him, its rotary gun whining into readiness. At my mark, we struck. The first grenade burst in fire and shrapnel, sending automaton fragments skipping across mossy stone. Sparks opened with the MG-43, brass casings falling like rain. Clutch's railgun cut down a fleeing drone in mid-arc. In 30 seconds, the clearing was silent. The uplink pulsed with stolen energy, defiant but unguarded. Bolt slapped charges on its spine. "Demo set! Backing off!" she called. We took cover among shattered statues of old Earth heroes, remnants left by colonists who believed war would never follow them here. The explosion came, concussive, bright, final. The tower crumpled into smoke and ruin. 1 uplink down. "Good work," I told them, voice steady. But in the quiet, Sparks raised his hand. "Contact. High arc. Multiple dot. The jetpack brigade had arrived. Uplink Bravo. Steel rain." They descended from the canopy as if gravity itself had betrayed us. 3, then 5, then more. The jetpack brigade, armored like wasps, carried by burnished thrusters. Plasma carbines flared in steady rhythm, mechanical precision built for slaughter. "Cover!" I barked, voice firm yet calm, habit carved by years of command. "Bolt, keep them off the ground. Sparks, arc fire on my mark. Clutch, high shots." Bolt didn't wait for the word. Her breaker incendiary belched flame, splashing burning oil across the nearest pair mid-jet, melting thrusters before they could stabilize. Sparks' MG-43 thundered in controlled bursts, brass singing across mossy stone. Clutch held his breath, sighted, and the railgun barked. 1 drone lost half its chassis, spinning uselessly before crashing among blackened ferns. 1 by 1 they fell, but they kept coming, drawn by the uplink's beacon. Sparks deployed the guard dog rover. Its rotary gun hummed to life, spitting defiance skyward. Above us, the second automaton uplink tower gleamed in the dawn light, tall and hateful. As long as it lived, they would keep coming. "Clutch," I called. "Strip the top guard ring." A single nod. Railgun charged. Release. Armor cracked. Circuits flashed, and the upper sentry gun went dead. Bolt sprinted forward, launcher slung, and began setting demo charges at the base. Sparks advanced beside her, guard dog prowling at heel, barrel hot. I climbed a fallen pillar, AR-23P steady, sighting a distant jetpack unit swooping low. Trigger squeeze, recoil spoke through bone. The round punched through the flight harness, the machine pinwheeled into the creek's stagnant water, steam rising where reactor met swamp. Clutch's calm voice came over comms. 4 more coming fast. They rose into view, machines framed against the sun, black wings trailing fire. Sparks stepped forward, braced, and the MG-43 roared its fury skyward. Bolt knelt at the tower's base, hands quick on the detonator, sweat mixing with caked oil. "Charges set," she called. "Fall back," I ordered. "Detonate!" The uplink's death was light and thunder, rusted iron bones torn skyward. Burning fragments rained across the jungle floor. The jetpack brigade scattered, then regrouped, wings flickering with plasma. 2 uplinks destroyed. 1 remained. The path to uplink, Charlie. We moved through the creek's lower ruins, broken archways, marble heads toppled and half swallowed by vines. History crushed under centuries, and now automaton boots. Sparks kept scanning the jungle, guard dog trotting at his heel, every flicker in the leaves suspect. Bolt reloaded, the GL-21's tube gleaming under dawn's harsh glare. Clutch walked silent, rear guard, the railgun heavy in his grip, watching for movement at the tree line. "Status!" I called. "Ammo low but holding," Bolt replied. "Rover down to half charge," Sparks added. "Got eyes on a ridge. Should give overwatch," Clutch offered. "Do it," I ordered. "We end this." Up ahead, the final uplink tower stood atop a crumbling fortress. Its steel spire jutted into morning sky, and below, automaton squads coiled around it, defenders, walkers, and the unmistakable shapes of jetpack elites. Malevolon Creek's last hope, I thought. One tower to call their reinforcements, or to fall and leave them deaf. The assault. I raised a hand. 3 fingers. 2, 1. Bolt fired the opening salvo. Incendiary shells that burst among clustered defenders, turning steel to burning wreckage. Sparks advanced under cover, MG-43 roaring, the guard dog snapping bursts into flanking drones. Clutch found his perch atop a half-collapsed dome. One by one, his shots dismantled the defenders' lines. They fired back. Plasma hissed across our shield arcs. Sparks flew from broken walls. Air tasted of ionized death. I stepped forward, shield generator glowing, and raised the AR-23P Liberator Penetrator. Controlled bursts. One automaton staggered, then folded. Another reeled as armor plates sparked under the penetrator's punch. Bolt vaulted a barricade, planted her charges. Sparks covered her, MG-43 belt dwindling to its last links. Clutch's calm breath echoed over comms. 3 left. Marked. "Take them," I said. One by one, the last guards fell. Bolt backed away from the humming tower, voice grim. "Charges set. Permission?" "Granted," I answered. A thumb pressed to the detonator. The uplink convulsed, then tore itself apart. Firelight brighter than dawn. Steel twisted. Cables whipped the air. Sparks rained across old stone. The jetpack brigade's last call for reinforcements died in that moment. We stood among the wreckage, lungs burning, sweat mingled with ash. Aftermath. Extraction. The uplinks were gone, but the jetpack brigade was not finished. Across the ravine, movement flickered. Dozens of them, rising on columns of blue flame. "They're coming!" Sparks warned. "And so are we," Bolt snapped, hefting the breaker. I keyed the stratagem uplink. Lucius Grant to orbit. Autocannon drop, coordinates grid 7 Bravo. Confirm. "Copy. Delivery inbound," came the operator's reply, voice neutral as stone. The beacon landed first, small and steady. Then came the thunder, a hell pod punching sky to soil, leaving behind the autocannon in its smoking cradle. Clutch leapt from his perch, grabbed the weapon, and racked a shell with deliberate grace. "Let them come," he murmured. The first jetpack units closed the gap. Bolt fired, the GL-21's grenades bursting in shrapnel and flame. Sparks' MG-43 spoke its final lines before the belt ran dry. But the guard dog kept firing, barrel glowing red. Clutch stood braced, firing the autocannon's heavy shells into flying shadows, each shot a line of fire, each hit tearing armor to ruin. I advanced, AR-23P on full auto, shield generator humming around us. Plasma bolts struck the field, fizzled and died. One jetpack trooper broke through. Sparks turned, dropped his empty machine gun, and drew the P-19 Redeemer sidearm, sending 3 rounds into the machine's optics. It fell at his feet. We held. Minutes felt eternal. The creek's ruins glowed with burning wrecks, the air hot as a forge. At last, the last enemy fell, circuits leaking blue fluid into black soil. Area clear. Clutch whispered. I checked the squad. Burns, scrapes, blood, but standing, breathing, alive. Log, close, reflection. Orbit signaled our extraction window. A shuttle descended on contrails of hope and heat. We boarded, weapons clutched in weary hands, boots stained by Malevolon's mud and automaton oil. 3 towers down, dozens neutralized, jetpack brigade broken, I reported. The operator's voice came back, flat but final. Good work, Commander. Cyberstan offensive now underway. Malevolon Creek held. I sat in the shuttle's iron belly, armor scored and burning. Around me, my squad exhaled as one. Bolt whispered something about a drink back on station. Sparks patted the guard dog's battered frame. Clutch simply closed his eyes, hands folded over the railgun. This is what it means to be a Helldiver. You descend into darkness. You fight without promise of return. You hold so others never have to. For Malevolon Creek, for Cyberstan, for managed democracy. I sign this log as truth. Commander Lucius Grant, Helldiver Corps. Over and out. The march beyond the creek. We had held Malevolon Creek, but the mission was not yet over. The jetpack brigade might have lost its voice, but it had not lost its teeth. Automaton raiding parties still prowled the jungle valleys, seeking vengeance or perhaps simply following corrupted code. Our orders from orbit were clear. Advance inland, secure an abandoned automaton forward base, and prepare a relay point for the Cyberstan offensive. We would carry the momentum of our small victory into the steel heart of the enemy. The morning sun burned above the canopy, turning the creeping vines to gold and revealing the scars of old battles. Burned-out walkers, shattered drone shells, rusted husks older than some Helldivers ever lived. I led the squad forward, boots sinking into mud that stank of oil and wet iron. Bolt! Left flank watch. Sparks, rover up. Clutch, high cover. They answered by moving, no wasted words. Discipline sharpened by fire. Signs of the enemy. We found traces of automaton patrols, scorched craters where jump packs had landed, footprints pressed deep in river mud, melted armor fragments still smoking from failed self-destruction charges. Sparks knelt by one ruined jetpack trooper, prodding its scorched frame. Reactor overload on death, he murmured. Clever, but not perfect. Bolt kicked the corpse, sending metal clattering into the stream. Perfect doesn't win wars, she growled. Helldivers do. Clutch simply watched the tree line, railgun cradled, eyes steady as stone. We advanced, deeper into the forest, where vines grew so thick they draped ruins like funeral shrouds. The forward base. By midday, we reached the old automaton forward base, a squat fortress of scorched alloy and rust, built into the side of a hill crowned by broken radar dishes. Fires still smoldered where orbital strikes had cut through its roof days ago. Yet movement flickered inside, heat signatures cold as grave steel. Contact, Clutch reported. 2 walkers, multiple drones. I ordered the approach. Bolt, sabotage charges on the east gate. Sparks, keep the rover scanning. Clutch, snipe anything that looks curious. We breach on my mark. Bolt moved quick, planting charges with the ease of someone who had destroyed more steel than she had seen birthdays. Sparks' guard dog whirred beside him, optics flickering across every ruined arch. Clutch moved silent as breath, railgun charging with a low hum that resonated in my ribs. When Bolt's hand raised, I counted down. 3, 2, 1 dot. The blast tore the east gate from its hinges, sending a cloud of dust and fragments skyward. We advanced under cover of our own destruction. Inside, the base was a maze of collapsed corridors and data nodes sparking with dying light. Sparks linked his wrist console to the main uplink, pulling what data he could. Movement. Clutch whispered. A walker rolled from the shadows, twin autocannons humming to life. Sparks stepped forward, MG-43 ready, guard dog at heel. Bolt fired first, the GL-21 grenade arcing under its belly. The explosion rocked the walker, smoke billowing from its joints. I dashed forward, shield generator humming, and drew fire. Plasma bolts splashed harmless against the barrier. Sparks unleashed a belt of steel, tracer rounds stitching across the walker's optics. Clutch exhaled, railgun roaring. The shot punched through rear armor. The walker staggered, reactor flickered, then died in a hiss of vented steam. Data recovered. We searched the remains. Sparks hunched over a cracked data node, hands dancing across half-dead circuits. Got something, he said. Automaton movement logs, forward deployments, and coordinates marked Cyberstan Defensive Core. Bolt raised a brow. The real prize. Yes, I said, voice quiet. This is why they defended Malevolon Creek so fiercely. Cyberstan is the next automaton bastion. Clutch glanced at me. And now it's our next battlefield. Exactly, I answered. We had our relay point, our data, and our next target. Mission continues, I ordered. We move. The enemy counterattack. No Helldiver mission ends neatly. Even victory draws the enemy like flies to blood. Barely had Sparks ripped the last data string from the fortress node when the jungle itself erupted. Plasma bolts lanced through hanging vines, and the ground shook under iron feet. Walker, North Gate, Clutch barked. I ordered the squad into firing positions. Bolt sprinted for a flank, the breaker incendiary already chambered. Sparks fell prone. MG-43 braced against rubble, guard dog at his side. Clutch climbed to a cracked balcony, the railgun humming. I stood in the open, shield generator flickering to life around me, daring the machine to try. It accepted. The automaton walker roared twin streams of plasma. The barrier shimmered, bending heat and light. Sparks returned fire, tracers carving orange lines across the walker's armor. Bolt fired, incendiary rounds chewing through external conduits. Clutch's railgun barked, a perfect shot right through the main sensor cluster. The walker staggered, auto-targeting blind. Bolt sprinted forward, planted a charge beneath its reactor, and rolled clear. The explosion was almost gentle, like a sigh of relief. The walker sagged, smoke trailing skyward. We stood, catching breath in air choked by burnt circuitry. The weight of command. As the echoes faded, I took a moment to watch my squad. Bolt wiping soot from her visor, still smirking despite the smoke. Sparks adjusting the rover, fingers never still. Clutch silent, scanning the horizon, always watching for the next threat. These moments matter. Command isn't just tactics, it's knowing your people, who they are when the shooting stops. Sparks is the calm inside chaos, his gun and mind running in tandem. Bolt burned so bright she could light up a city, and risk burning herself too. Clutch is quiet, deliberate, an anchor in any tide. And me? I carry the log, the orders, the final responsibility if we fall. In Super Earth's doctrine, failure isn't an option, but it is always a possibility. You feel it in the bones of every ruin you pass, in every crater you step around. Yet still you move, because Helldivers don't just hold the line, we are the line. Advancing toward Cyberstan. With the base cleared, Sparks uploaded the automaton data to orbit. Command's reply crackled through static. Data received. Excellent work, Commander Grant. Proceed east, grid 12 Charlie, and prepare the Cyberstan staging relay. So we moved deeper into the ruin-choked valley. The ground turned steeper, rocks slick with creeping moss. Old automaton wrecks lay half-buried, some scorched by past orbital strikes, others gutted by their own kind. At night, Malevolon Creek becomes a place of shadows. Fires from downed drones burn blue, reflecting in stagnant pools. It feels less like walking a jungle and more like wading through a graveyard. We camped that night beside the rusted skeleton of a fallen dropship, long since claimed by vines. Sparks took first watch, guard dog scanning the tree line. Bolt leaned against twisted alloy, dozing with one hand still on the breaker's grip. Clutch spoke only once. "They'll come at dawn." "They always do," I replied. Night reflections. In the dark, you remember faces, squadmates lost, names etched into the cold steel of the Hall of Heroes. Some Helldivers fear that night, when memory presses closest. I've learned to see it as duty's price, to remember so others don't have to. Bolt stirred beside me. "Lucius, you ever wonder why we're still alive? Luck, training, armor plates, and stubbornness," she added, voice soft. I like that answer. The jungle creaked, distant metal echoing somewhere unseen. "Sleep," I told her. "Dawn won't wait." Dawn, assault. At first light, the final leg began. Our objective, a hilltop ruin overlooking the valley, perfect for the Cyberstan relay. It was occupied. The jetpack brigade had reinforced the hill, sentry guns nested in crumbling arches, patrolling drones orbiting like hungry flies. "Options?" I asked. "Straight up the slope, they'll cut us to pieces," Spark said. "Flank left ridge," Clutch offered. "Use the rise for overwatch." "Or set the whole ridge on fire," Bolt added, almost hopeful. "All of the above," I ordered. "Bolt, burn their sight lines. Sparks, follow me center. Clutch, right ridge. Keep them blind." No protests, just movement. Bolt fired incendiaries into dry vines clinging to old stone. Flame raced uphill, smoke masking our advance. Sparks and I charged the slope, shield generator humming against ricochets. Clutch's railgun cracked overhead, each shot precise as dawn itself. Plasma bolts hissed past, but training wins what chance cannot. We reached the crest. Sparks dropped prone, MG-43 thundering. Bolt lobbed grenades into sentry nests. Clutch's overwatch forced automaton scouts into cover they wouldn't leave alive. At last, the ridge cleared. We stood atop stone worn by centuries, and yet again claimed for Super Earth. Establishing the relay. Sparks unpacked the relay dish, its panels unfolding like steel petals. He tapped a final sequence. The uplink came to life, blinking green against the dawn. "Commander, Cyberstan relay online," he reported. "Log that," I said. "Malevelon Creek secured. Advance to Cyberstan enabled." Bolt sat down hard, dropping the breaker to the ground beside her. "Hard part's over," she breathed. "Hard part's next," Clutch countered, always the realist. "That's why we're here," I finished. Above us, orbit sent back one word: confirmed. Holding the relay on that hilltop wasn't just metal and circuits. It was a promise that the push into Cyberstan would not stall, that Super Earth's advance would not falter. Automatons understood this too. Hours after Spark's final calibration, our scanners lit red with incoming contacts. Dozens, perhaps more. "Jetpack Brigade," Clutch reported, voice level. Bolt spat dust from her mouth. "Let them come," she said. "I'm tired of waiting." We fortified as best we could. Bolt placed charges at likely breach points. Sparks set his guard dog rover atop the relay housing. Clutch picked an overwatch perch on a broken spire, railgun humming its low, lethal tone. I keyed my shield generator, checking charge levels. Enough, if luck and training held. "They want this relay," I told the squad. "They won't get it." No speeches, no ceremony, just the shared silence of soldiers who understand what must be done. The battle on the ridge. They came in waves. First the scouts, Jetpacks hissing, plasma rifles hot. Sparks MG-43 answered, carving burning lines into the morning air. Bolt fired incendiary shells into the rising smoke, setting the sky itself alight. Then came the heavy troopers, armor thick as war gilt, rotary cannons spinning. Clutch's railgun barked, one fell. Sparks shifted fire, Rover spitting defiance. Bolt reloaded, muttering curses only half in jest. "On your left," I called. Bolt swung, firing point blank into a descending jetpack. Metal and flame collided. The machine folded mid-flight. More came, always more. "Autocannon inbound!" I barked into comms, dropping a stratagem beacon. Hellpod thundered from orbit, slamming into rock, coughing up the autocannon. Clutch leapt from his perch, seized the weapon, and turned back toward the advancing automatons. Boom! A shell sent 2 jetpack troopers spiraling, smoke trailing. Boom! Another tore the leg from a walker cresting the ridge. We held. Minutes turned to lifetimes. Smoke burned our lungs, heat shimmered before our visors, but still we fired. Bolt's breaker overheated. She dropped it, drew her P-19 Redeemer sidearm, and kept shooting. Sparks' MG-43 clicked empty. He drew a combat knife, standing over the Rover's failing chassis. Clutch's autocannon roared until shells ran dry. And me? I stepped forward, AR-23P on full auto, shield flickering around us. "For managed democracy!" I shouted, voice raw. They broke. What was left of the jetpack brigade fell back into the jungle, metal leaking smoke, systems flickering. Silence returned, broken only by our ragged breathing. Securing Cyberstan's gate. With the relay defended, our data reached orbit unhindered. Command's reply came quickly. "Excellent work, Commander. Begin Cyberstan advance at your discretion. Automaton Defensive Corps located. Coordinates uploaded." It was what we'd bled for. We gathered on the ridge, smoke still rising around us. Bolt sat heavily, hands black with soot. "All for a hill," she murmured. "Not just a hill," I corrected. "A gateway." Clutch leaned his railgun against broken stone. "They'll dig in deeper at Cyberstan," he said. "Yes," I agreed. "And we'll follow them there." Sparks crouched by his rover, its systems dying. He patted its chassis, almost gentle. "They fought hard," he said. "So do we." Final march. We descended the ridge, stepping over broken drones and scorched soil. The valley ahead ran eastward, toward the steel citadel automaton maps called Cyberstan Defensive Corps. We walked in single file, squad battered yet unbroken. Along the trail, we passed markers of past Helldiver missions. Rusted drop pods half buried, cracked helmets, stratagem beacons now dark. Each spoke of sacrifice. Each reminded us why we were here. We fight not for glory, not for medals, but so Super Earth never needs to see what we see. Approaching Cyberstan. By dusk, we reached the outer edge, a fortress of alloy towers and plasma turrets, alive with red optics. We made camp in the ruins of an old mining station. Bolt checked explosives, Sparks ran power checks, Clutch cleaned the railgun in silence. I dictated this log, voice steady despite the ache in every muscle. Tomorrow, we strike Cyberstan. And when history asks who dared, it will find 4 names among the dust and flame. Reflection before the storm. Night in the jungle was a living thing. Insect song mixing with the distant pulse of automaton patrols. I lay awake, armor cold against my back, helmet beside me. Bolt snored softly, rifle clutched even in sleep. Sparks dreamt with one hand still resting on the rover's cooling frame. Clutch slept as he lived, quiet, still, unreadable. I thought of home, of a sky unbroken by plasma streaks, of faces long gone. We fight so someone else can live without thinking of these things. That is the creed of a Helldiver, the oath we carry into every drop zone. The final assault. At dawn, we rose. No speeches, no grand plan. Just 4 Helldivers walking toward an enemy fortress. Bolt led, setting charges on sentry guns. Sparks deployed the guard dog, its systems patched just enough to bark defiance. Clutch moved from cover to cover, railgun cracking holes in steel hearts. I walked at their center, shield humming. AR-23P steady. Automaton alarms wailed. Plasma bolts hissed past. Explosions shook the ground. "Left flank, walkers," Sparks warned. Bolt fired the GL-21. Smoke and fire enveloped the slope. Sparks opened up with the MG-43, each shot deliberate despite chaos. Clutch found his mark, a command drone directing reinforcements. 1 shot, 1 kill. We advanced yard by yard, each step bought with sweat, smoke, and resolve. At the fortress gate, Bolt planted the last charges. "Demo ready," she shouted. "Fire," I ordered. Steel split like wet bark. The automaton heart lay open before us. We charged in. The transfer from Malevolon Creek. We left the burning jungles of Malevolon Creek behind. Drop shuttles thundered skyward, carrying scorched armor, scarred weapons, and 4 Helldivers whose hearts still beat steady under steel. Orbit felt different. The air thinner, gravity eased, but the weight of duty remained. Bolt leaned back in her harness, helmet in her lap, fingers still stained with carbon scoring. Sparks quietly checked power readouts, his guard dog Rover strapped beside him in a web of cables and belts. Clutch sat nearest the hatch, railgun braced across his knees, silent and watchful. And I sat forward, helmet resting beside the data slate that bore our orders. Operation Cyberstan Offensive. Next phase. The dropship's engines vibrated through deck plates, a low, constant reminder that this moment of stillness would not last. The briefing in low orbit. Command's voice crackled through the shuttle's comms, calm as stone. "Commander Grant, Malevolon Creek objective complete. Proceed to Cyberstan Defensive Core. Stand by for atmospheric insertion." Sparks leaned forward, scanning orbital telemetry. "Heavy automaton presence," he reported. "Fortified landing zones. No clean drop." Bolt gave a humorless grin. "When did we ever have a clean drop?" Clutch only nodded once, hands folding over the railgun's worn casing. "Doesn't change what we do next," I said. Outside, the viewing panel framed our target, the automaton world they called Cyberstan, a sphere of steel and fire, ringed by satellite weapons and dark scars from past bombardments. A world built not to live on, but to wage war from. Approaching Cyberstan. The dropship banked, orienting toward re-entry. The planet loomed larger by the second, horizon curving away into armored plains, fortress cities bristling with red eyes, and cold mountain ranges cut by heat vents. The cabin fell silent, save for the rising hum of the thrusters and the muted sound of the re-entry shields powering up. Bolt checked the breaker incendiary, gazed distant yet resolved. "One more world," she murmured. Sparks keyed final checks, eyes flicking between readouts. Data slate loaded, stratagem beacons synced. Clutch looked out the small viewport, voice quiet. "Cyberstan." I spoke, voice low but firm. "This is why we fought at Malevolon Creek, why we bled to hold that relay, so we could bring the fire here, to the machine's doorstep." Final log, before descent. The planet grew until it filled every thought, every breath. Red-lit trenches, fortress walls, towers alive with power. I keyed the log, recording this final message before we drop. To Super Earth Command, we approach Cyberstan. Malevolon Creek stands secured behind us. The Cyberstan Defensive Core awaits ahead. 4 Helldivers carry the fire forward, so the light of democracy never flickers. To those who come after, Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is stepping out of the drop pod, despite it. Tomorrow our boots touch the enemy's world. But tonight, we ride silent through the dark, eyes fixed on the fortress below, hearts bound by a single creed. We do not fight for glory. We do not fight for medals. We fight so that others never have to see what we see. Commander Lucius Grant, Helldiver Corps, approaching Cyberstan, for managed democracy, for Super Earth, over and out.